What's going on, guys? It's Greg Meets Coast Eyes, and today we have another review for you. This is the new Nike Vapor Elite. Slipped right out of my hands there. Big shout out to Lacrosse for sending this down. The link to their site to check it out if you want to buy it is in the description. So today we're going to be taking a look at this, the newest offensive head from Nike, and we're also going to compare it to the Nike Vapor Pro, which was the predecessor for this head. So they've been Vapors for a long time, but they take a big space to make new ones. So there was a Vapor 2, then you went Pro, now you go Elite. That's kind of how the lineage has been. So this is $89.99 and comes in just white and black, and like I said, it's the newest offensive head. So first, let's talk weight. The old Vapor Pro weighed 4.9 ounces, which was a great weight. I think back then we praised it for its weight and stiffness. The new one has been bumped up in weight actually to 5.2 ounces. So not often do you see a new revision of a head gain weight, but I will say for that extra weight, 5.2 ounces, it is super stiff. So going to be great for midfield. With the stiffness and the weight, I think it would be a good option for LSM as well, because it is really, really stiff. So let's look at visually what they changed. There are some differences, but not a ton. Looking at the side profile, they've shifted that pretty much same exact design down a little bit in the head. So you can see they just moved it down in the head. One thing they also changed was the scoop. I think this is probably the most significant change on the head. The Vapor Pro had a scoop that was just all one face. It was a little pointed at the top, a little bit pointy, and the string holes were pretty much set right into that rounded face, so not a lot of protection. So here you can see they really smoothed out the top of that scoop, making it good, like I said, for midfielders and LSMs. And then they also separated that face here to give it a little bit of string protection. And then looking at a couple other styling things, they ditched the medallion here on the front, which I actually don't like. This is just molded into the head with the Nike and the medallion. This is what you usually see on a lower end beginner head, so it's a little odd to see it on the newest high-end head, just that molded as opposed to the cool silver medallion. Same ball stop, and then on the back of the throat, they did a good job here. They cut it up pretty high and have this nice texture, so it does feel pretty comfortable when cradling one-handed with that new design there. Looking at the face shape, one thing we talked about here was this looked a lot like a CEO or CEO2 face shape. It's really high, tight, and pinched. But it almost looked a little too aggressive, a little too, jutted out. It happens a little quickly. And so here they took the face shape and they moved the pinch down just a little bit and smoothed everything out. So I think this is going to be easier to string and also be easier to catch with. Still have good control because it is relatively pinched, but they did move it down and make it just a little bit softer. Looking at stringing holes, they added a couple in the scoop, which generally I don't use. I don't think they're gonna do much for you, but they look kind of cool. It just looks a little bit different. One thing I don't like that they've done on both these heads is the top 5, or I think on this, the top 6 holes are all really big and wide. And for me personally, I think this top third of the head is where you need a lot of selection. You need a lot of holes so that you can make sure you're pulling your channel down exactly how tight you like it. So it did not provide a lot of options because there's fewer holes that are bigger, which you don't really need bigger to be tying these knots on how I string my heads, at least for me. So I'd rather have more stringing hole options at the top rather than bigger ones. You might feel differently. I think the one advantage you could look at and say you get from this is you can put your shooting strings through the sidewall holes. That's nice, not needed, but I would have liked to have seen what they have down here, which is more frequent, smaller holes. You can see here one thing, it's just nitpicking, but I don't like it, is when they jut the sidewall out. Over right here, it just spaced these ones out further than all the rest of them, which is kind of awkward. So I don't want it to sound like I'm nitpicking this head, but I honestly don't feel like it's as good as some of the other options. I still like, if you really want to get into a Nike head, I still like the Lakota 2 more. Looking at it just in a vacuum, if you were to get this head, this is a good head. It's stiff, it's got a good face shape, it's gonna work really well, but just some of these other little features, there might be better heads out on the market that are going to fill this gap. So that's my review on the Nike Vapor Elite and a comparison to the Nike Vapor Pro. Let me know in the comments what you think, if you agree or disagree with some of these takes. Like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't for more tutorials. We got a picture coming on Monday. Tons of good stuff coming this spring, so stay tuned.